Fantastic. Thank you so much to all of you for coming out. It just means the world to me that every one of you are out working hard to make sure that America wins on November 2nd. As Dwight says, we start getting our middle class back again, away from the corporate interests. We're all part of that, and it is so important. I've been out all over the state campaigning, and it's just been great. The enthusiasm is there. People do know that this is an important election. We need to get to everybody else and make sure they send their ballots in, and I know you're all here to do that, and I can't tell you how important that is. You know, I come home every weekend. It's wonderful to be here in Ballard. My husband, who's with me today, actually grew up here in Ballard. He walks up the street. We know this very well, and I love the Senior Center. I've come here many times, and I want to thank them for allowing us to use this today. This is where I sat and talked to senior citizens about Social Security and Medicare and that darn prescription hole that they fall into because the way the Republicans passed Medicare prescription, they left out part of the house for seniors right in the middle of it called the donut hole. We fixed that in health care reform. Democrats fixed that in health care reform. My opponent wants to keep it. Also here in the Senior Center talking to a number of seniors who felt like every one of you did when Wall Street gambled with our future. And we sat here 2 years ago and watched Washington Mutual shut its doors and 3,000 people get laid off under the Bush administration. And shortly after that, Boeing announcing massive layoffs, and Microsoft, and all of our small little storefronts all over the state started closing their doors, and every one of us was worried about a family member who was going to get a pink slip or somebody who got laid off, and we had to go to work to help get this country stabilized and get it back and working again. I come home every week to talk to your community leaders, to find out what we need to be doing to create jobs here in our state, in every community. We're just a few blocks up from the Ballard locks here. I remember when the Corps of Engineers back in Washington, D.C. decided they were going to shut down the locks for, quite a few hours a month. I didn't say, gosh, you guys need to go talk to some bureaucrat in Washington, D.C. I went and talked to the bureaucrats in Washington, D.C. because I am your voice, and we got them to leave those locks open. Important jobs and important for the economy of this region. It's what I do. When the Pentagon said that, they were going to award this Boeing, or this tanker contract to Airbus, I didn't say, oh, gee, that is too bad. I went to work to fight to show that that contract had not been awarded correctly. We are now back in the game, and I'm going to make sure that your tax dollars go to build military airplanes here in Everett, not over in Europe. Yeah. Has opted out of that. As Dwight said, he's got the D.C. talking voice. He wants to leave our decisions in the hands of bureaucrats in Washington, D.C. That's not what I do. I come home, I put my tennis shoes on, I talk to you, I find out your stories. I take them back to Washington, D.C. and help our communities get back on their feet and get jobs and make sure you have what you need. And I want to keep doing that. When that Wall Street disaster happened, I knew we had to get to work to get people working again. But I also said, I am not going to forget what they did. I'm going to work every day to pass strong Wall Street reform so that we can have consumer protections in place for your mortgages and your jobs and your financial security. And we passed the strongest protections for you ever before and said no more bailouts in the bill. Who would say that they would want to repeal that? Who would want to take away those protections and leave us vulnerable to those bailouts again? Well, I found him. My opponent. He said the first thing he's going to do is repeal Wall Street reform. Maybe that's why you're looking at those ads that are pouring into our state, those little shadowy ads, Carl Road, Crossroads. A lot of money coming from hedge fund managers into those ads right here in the state of Tennessee. We have to fight back. We have to fight back. love it that those ads pretty much say that everything that happened since the creation of man occurred because I was in office. I have a much longer memory than that. I remember in 1992, and many of you do as well, when Ross Perot was running around talking about the short graphs and the deficit problem we had. Who came into power? Bill Clinton. I was elected. Democrats put together a budget that got us back to surplus by the year 2000. Right. What happened? Bush came into office. Republicans took over. I love that they call themselves fiscally responsible. What did they do? They took us to war not once but twice without paying for it. And then they passed massive tax cuts, mostly to the wealth, and never paid for it. They passed a Medicare prescription drug plan for our seniors and did not pay for it. It took Democrats to come back into office a year ago and be responsible. In the health care bill, we fixed the Medicare prescription Part D so they could pay for it. We made sure that we said that we have to pay in our budget for what we asked this country to sacrifice for. We are trying to get our country back on track, and in comes Mr. Rossi and all of his corporate lobbyist friends and all of his friends from Wall Street. He speaks for all of his friends in D.C. who want the keys to the car back, as President Obama said, to pass policies and not pay for them. Okay, we're Democrats. Let's start calling ourselves the party of responsibility that's honest to the public. We do not want the choices ahead are tough, but I'm a tough mom, and I know that when you make those tough choices, you are frugal. That's what we have to do, but you make sure you invest in our future. You make sure that our kids have a good education. You make sure that we have roads and bridges so that those businesses can grow and thrive. You make sure that we have a future in clean energy so we don't continue to depend on foreign oil. That's our responsibility as leaders, to make clear choices for our future and invest in them. That's what I want to do. Mr. Rossi says, nah, we're not going to do any of that. We have a very clear choice in this election, but it is mostly clear on television, as you all know, where we had a Supreme Court make a decision on a 5-4 basis to allow multinational corporations and foreign countries to air ads on our airwaves by shadowy organizations, and we don't know who's paying for them, and we don't know who's donated to those causes. Now, I've made a few enemies in the Senate. I have taken on the most powerful. I have taken on Airbus. I have taken on the insurance industry. I have taken on Wall Street. And that's what you're seeing on the air. There's only one way we can fight back, and it's all of you. I've been here before, back in 1992. Outspent 3-1. You remember what happened. I laced up my tennis shoes. I said, this mom in tennis shoes is going to go out and fight and knock on doors and talk to people and get them out to vote. And here I am today. We have to do the same, every one of us. You're going out and working today, knocking on doors, making those phone calls. That's how you fight back against those hedge fund managers in Wall Street. Let's go win this election for the middle class, the hardworking families here in Ballard and across our state. With your help, we are going to have a great celebration.